everyone. Okay, so we are good to start, right? My name is Farhana Sultana, and I will be your session supervisor. So congratulations, everyone, for being here. It's the final round, and I wish you all the best. I'm pretty sure that you all are well known with the rules and the regulation of the competition. Still, I would like to give some insight that the competition will long for 90 minutes, and I would request the judges and the mediators and the teams to put your camera on throughout all the session. All the team will be given a private session of 7 minutes. That's the maximum time. Please let me know when you need it so I can take you to the breakout room. And if you need any kind of technical or any kind of issues or help or assistance, just let me know. And afterwards, I will give you a warning when you have 30 minutes left. And before the session over, I will give you another warning before 5 minutes. Are we good to go? And do you have any question for me or anything? I can't hear any of you. I'm sorry.
No, I think we're
all right.
No, and I don't have any questions.
All right. I would like to request all of you to just write your name, your team name, and your role to the judges, to the chat box, so that they can do the scoring. So are we good to go? Just a thumbs up, thank you.
Farhana, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So I am starting counting now. Okay. All of us, good luck.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your mediation. My name is Mehek, and co-mediating with me is Ishrat. Thank you for choosing us to be your mediators today. Throughout this journey, we will be in charge of the process, and you will be in charge of the content. Our goal today is to work together to find a solution. At this point, I'm going to give it over to everyone to introduce themselves and how they would prefer to be addressed.
Is it okay if I start? Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy Hoffa. I am the Secretary General of a trade union. My preferred pronouns are her, she. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Perry Mason, and I'm going to be the counsel for Jimmy Hoffa today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stefania Bellati, and I am the CEO of Green Co. You're more than welcome to just refer to me as Steph.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zachary Hatton, and I'm a lawyer with Palo Alto Bay and Partners and the counsel for Green Co. You can just simply call me Zach.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for your introduction, and obviously, Mehek, for opening up. My name is Ishrat, and I'm Mediator B for the session, and you may address me as Ishrat. And first of all, I'd like to welcome both the parties to their mediation and thank them for their presence and attendance here amid the pandemic, and that too on a Sunday. So thank you so much for actually being here and dedicating your time for this mediation. Now, before we move forward, obviously, I would like to make sure that this is heard, that this is an online setting, and so there might be some technical issues. Obviously, that is something, the ground rule of something that Mehek will delve into further. For now, I would just acquaint you with the term mediation and how the process works. So mediation is a voluntary process. You're here on your own accord. You have entrusted us to help you navigate through the issues that you have lingering amongst yourselves. It is also a non-binding arrangement. Anything you say here will not be binding until there is some sort of agreement. And the last thing I want to say about mediation is that this process will be carried out without any prejudice, without any bias. So rest assured that Mehak and myself, we will take full care in ensuring both of you feel equally involved. Nobody feels left out. At any point, if you have any clarification that you seek from us, feel free to ask us and we will answer right away. Now, I would like to talk to you a bit about Mehak and my role as a mediator today. Our roles as mediator will not that be of a judge. We are here not to decide who is right or wrong. We're simply here to help you guide through the process. We're here to help you discuss whatever you want to at your convenience. And we can sometimes have to ask you some technical questions related to any concession you throw our way. But rest assured that is only to further understand how badly you want to proceed with these options. So again, I must, obviously this is something that I want to highlight the most, that mediation is an absolutely confidential platform and anything you say here will not be divulged unless Mehak and I have your absolute confidence and consent. So with that being said, I think Mehak would like to set some ground rules. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ishrat. So some ground rules, as Ishrat has already stated, is this is a voluntary process. So thank you for being here. It is non-binding to the point of agreement, and it is without prejudice. And I just wanted to clarify that point a little bit more. So any offers or concessions or admissions made during the course of this mediation cannot be used if we do not settle, and it will also be a confidential process. That being said, in a moment, I will hand it over to each party to make their opening statements. If you could please present your understanding of the case. And this is a good opportunity for everyone to hear the issues that each of you believe are important to this case. Though it may be tempting to interrupt, please allow each other the courtesy to finish their piece uninterrupted. And I assure you that throughout the day, you will have an opportunity to respond and have your voice heard. After each of you presents your opening statement, we will move on to collaborate and make an agenda together. So again, today's goal is to come up with an agreement that is satisfactory to all of you. And when an agreement is reached, it will be formalized at a closing joint statement, during which it will be put in writing in the form you choose, and everyone will get a copy. So thank you once again for coming together to shape your solutions. And remember that the goal today is to reach an agreement. Are there any questions before we begin opening statements? No? Okay.
All right, then. I think if Meg is also in agreement with me, we would like to ask the requesting party to make the opening statement. So Jimmy, if you could take it from here.
Thank you very much. I'll actually start off. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. As I said, my name is Perry Mason, and you please just call me Perry. And I'm from Perry Mason & Co. And I'm representing Jimmy Hoffa today, the Secretary General of the Trade Union. Firstly, thank you to Mehak and Ishrat for facilitating this mediation today, and thank you for the wonderful openings. Thank you also to GreenCo. Thanks for being here, and we acknowledge your presence here. I just want to start off by saying, my client is here with the support of the EU, with the support of the governments. Obviously, their primary concern is economic development, safety, and regulatory breaches also. But today, my client is primarily concerned with the health of the members of the trade union, but also about jobs and about workers' rights. I've advised my client that we have a strong case for negligence arising out of this accident, but that we need more information from GreenCo, and that we need GreenCo to be more open with us. That's also why I've advised my client that mediation was the appropriate avenue regarding the resolving of this dispute. Mediation allows for a speedy resolution of disputes, and it also allows us, I think, to communicate in a way that a courtroom wouldn't other allow. And this is especially important for us given the health issues that have arisen out of this accident, and also the environmental issues. So I just want to finish by saying that I'm looking forward, hopefully, to a productive discussion today, and hopefully we can come to a mutually beneficial solution. But I think at this point, I'll hand over to Jimmy, who might say a few words as well.
Thank you, Perry. Hello, everyone. As stated, my name is Jimmy Hoffa. You can refer to me as Jimmy. I'm Secretary General of the Trade Union. I'd like to begin by thanking the mediators for facilitating this process, and also thank you for that wonderful opening. You certainly have elevated some of my fears about this process, and I am more comfortable with the suggestion that Perry made that we try mediation. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Stephanie and her council as representatives of Green Co. We unfortunately have not had the opportunity to communicate since the accident in 2015, so I welcome this opportunity for dialogue. I wish we were all meeting in better circumstances, but unfortunately that is not the case. We are all here today because there has been a disaster, and in fact that disaster is the largest industrial chemical accident to have ever occurred in Europe. The chemical accident resulted in over 10,000 of our workers being exposed to poisonous gases, which resulted in long-term illnesses. There is also a possibility that the accident resulted in contamination to the soil in the local communities surrounding the plant. So this accident was not just detrimental to the health of our workers, but it was also detrimental to our local communities and our local environment. So I'd like to be very direct about what we want out of this meeting. We want Green Co to take responsibility for the accident and to commit to paying compensation to our members for the injuries caused on a sum per person basis, and also to cover medical expenses for the injured employees. We also want Green Co to provide better training for staff and a more transparent health and safety mechanisms. Lastly, we want Green Co to carry out investigation into the potential local soil contamination in the surrounding areas. I will conclude by stating that I genuinely hope that we can come to an agreement that adequately compensates our members for the harm that they suffered, and also that focuses on the future safety and well-being of our members to ensure that an accident like this never happens in the future. Thank you all so much for being here, and I genuinely look forward to what everyone has to say.
Thank you so much. May we have the responding party opening their part? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. As I stated, my name is Zachary Hatton, and I am the counsel for Green Co. I wanted to thank all of the parties around the table today, specifically the trade union and Jimmy Hoffa for voicing concerns and bringing them forward. I think mediation is a great and useful tool. There's a 70% success rate in mediation for a reason, and that's because we can bring our ideas together and reach a practical solution. I've advised my client that she is here voluntary and that she has the right to settle any potential offers today. We're here to rectify wrongs and build forward together. Our employees are some of the most important people to us, and I appreciate you bringing your feelings to this mediation today. I'd like to pass it over to my client now to introduce herself and talk about the stuff that she would like to see on the agenda today. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Zachary, and hello, everybody. I would just like to start out by saying thank you very much to the trade union for requesting that we come to the table today. I think that this mediation would be the best way to settle this, and hopefully everyone will be able to leave with a solution that everyone can be happy with. Now, we absolutely agree with the points that you'd like to speak about today. We also want to ensure that we're talking about how we can ensure in the future that this doesn't happen again. And we are committed to not only trying to rectify what has happened in the plant currently, but also to ensure that moving forward, we never have issues like this again. And I think that is the utmost goal of today, right beside making sure that our workers are fairly compensated for what has happened here today. Now, that it seems that we have very similar goals, I think that this mediation is going to be a really great tool for us, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the conversation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to both parties for their opening statements. I would just like to confirm that everyone here today has the authority to settle and has signed the agreement to mediate. You can just signify by nodding your heads. Okay. Great, thank you. So I think this would be a good time to move on to setting an agenda together, which it seems like through your opening statements, we already have many aligning points of discussion. So Ishrat, if you could please, thank you, read my mind. Okay, so I can just quickly summarize a few of the points that you guys have brought up together through the opening statements, and then we can work together to prioritize these points on the agenda that both parties have said are important. So from the EU, I heard taking responsibility, compensation, training, health and safety, and research on environmental impact. Can you please take this time to fill in any missing gaps from your side and correct anything that I may have misstated?
Thank you, Mahek. Just to state that we are not the EU. We are here with the support of the EU, but we are the local trade union.
Okay, thank
Just
you
to
for that.
clarify that.
Yes.
Yes, in addition to compensation, would also like for medical expenses to be covered. So separate from compensation for the injuries, we also like Greenco to take responsibility for the medical expenses incurred by our members. And of course, safety and training. And lastly, the issue of the contamination of our local environment.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Jimmy. I appreciate that. I'm going to just give my co-mediator a chance to get all of that down. This will be a very useful reference for us as we continue this mediation to make sure that we're all on track and covering the points that are important to the both of you. Okay, so moving on to Greenco. Some of the points that I wrote down were your concern with making sure that it doesn't happen again, that you do want to have a conversation about rectifying certain things and a certain level of compensation that you would like to discuss. I also appreciate your council statement that your employees are very important. I think that was very nice of you to say. It shows that we're all on the same page. And as my co-mediator is typing this out, can both parties please take a moment to think about how they would like to structure this agenda? What is the first topic that you would like to talk about together?
If possible, am I still able to add to the agenda?
Yes, for sure.
So we also wanted to look at our safety procedures and reviews in this mediation to both help with ensuring that it doesn't happen again, but also to maybe look at developing the process and possibly looking at impartial reviewers rather than internal reviewers or biased reviewers to hopefully make our friends across the virtual table feel as though we are truly dedicated to that, and that's something that we are completely ready to take on.
Thank you for adding that point to the agenda, Steph. We appreciate that. Is there anything else that either party would like to add to the agenda before we prioritize our points?
And I also have a question. I'm sorry, Jimmy, I'm so sorry. I just need to ask if you want each of these things to be in a separate numbering, or are you fine with the fact that it's number one?
I was just going to speak to that. In terms of priority, I think we would want taking responsibility to be number one, and then compensation to be number two on the agenda, and training number three, health and safety mechanisms number four, and local soil contamination number five. I'll just confirm with my council that is the order that we discussed.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think that sounds absolutely perfect to me. And I just want to confirm as well that the agenda does look absolutely perfect as well for me. I think that's going to lend itself to a good discussion today. And I'm glad to hear that that Greenco have, share some similar concerns to us today.
Right, and are you happy with that chronology of agenda, Stefania, if I might ask? Yeah.
Yes, that looks acceptable to us. Thank you.
Right. So is there, I would like to address this, I would like to address this question to both parties so that we have a common agenda. Is there anything that you think that, there is a common goal between the two of you, like wanting to continue working with each other? Is that, something of a priority to both the parties or any of them?
From our perspective, it is because the incident happened in 2015 and our employees are still working in the company. But what we would prioritize is not just job security, but to ensure that our members have the training that they need to carry out their jobs safely, and that there are safety mechanisms in place to ensure that they can do that, and that a similar incident does not happen in the future. So I think that's something that we have in common with Greenco, but Stephanie can confirm if that is the case.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah, that would definitely be a point for the agenda.
So definitely, we do not want that accident to repeat. That's a common agenda.
I think as well, if Jimmy feels the same, that this point merges well with working together in the future, as they do represent our employees. And so the relationship is, although inevitable, something that can definitely be worked on in the future.
Yes, of course. I'm open to discuss that.
Right. So I think we have all the agenda, the mutual ones at least that both the parties have. Is it all right if we start off with, if we take off the mutual ones and then head to if there's any remaining individual interests? I see nodding head. Thank you so much. I'll stop sharing and finally we can see each other in a wider view. Thank you. So moving to the first agenda that we have, this accident. So if any of the parties would like to take the floor and talk about what this accident is and how this has impacted either of the parties, please.
I guess I can begin, and then my counsel will add in a bit of the details and a bit of the flesh out the legal issues. What we understand from our investigations was the issue was that a lot of our members, of the workers on the ground at the time of the incidents, were untrained. And from our understanding, that was because a number of the skilled workers had been let go in favor of untrained workers because they would be paid less. We also discovered that on the night of the incident, the workers had simply been asked to fill up a tank and to leave it, and there was no proper instruction given. So they were not provided with detailed instructions or any supervisor to look over what it was that they were doing. There was no oversight mechanism in place. And we note also that when the staff members discovered that something was wrong at midnight, they informed their superiors. And nothing was done about that until the early hours of the morning, when this had become a much bigger issue. And even at that point, there was no automatic alarm system in place to alert the workers and also the surrounding communities to what was happening, so people could leave the vicinity as quickly as possible. So we note that there were a number of issues that went wrong on that night. And it seems that these are issues that could have been addressed, but we are not, because Greenco wanted to cut costs. And they did that, it seems, at the expense of the well-being and of the safety of our workers. So that is something we'd like to address, and also to speak about how our workers can be compensated for the harm that they suffered. Because, like I stated earlier, 10,000 workers suffered illnesses which we believe are permanent. So we feel that they should be adequately compensated to ensure that they can go on to live a long and fruitful life.
Thanks, Jimmy, for that impassioned description of this terrible accident. And yeah, just sort of to echo what Jimmy says, you know, for us, I think there's still a bit of a lack of understanding as to how this accident was allowed to occur. And obviously, Jimmy sort of laid out some of the failings, maybe as we see them, you know, that occurred on that day. But I think something that you know we want to know is just maybe some more information from Greenco as to how this happened. You know, with a view to preventing this occurring again. You know, a lot of the information that we have is just word of mouth from the trade union members who unfortunately happened to be there that evening and are paying the price for that now. So I think, you know, I think as I mentioned maybe in my opening, you know, we want Greenco, I think, just to maybe share with us some more information and, you know, how they propose to maybe use that information that they have received as a result of the accident to prevent this happening again in the future.
Certainly, and thank you for that point. Now, you have actually brought to our attention today some information that we did not even know coming into this mediation. We were not aware that supervisors were approached with this issue. Being that information hasn't been released to us, we aren't necessarily going to accept that as it comes at face value. But what we do accept is the fact that there were clear failings that prevailed that night that could have been avoided. Now, we do care about our employees, and in no way have we let workers go to save money. In no way have we compromised on their training to do so. All of our employees are expected to follow the training that they were given, and that is because it is to prevent issues like this, their own safety and the safety of everybody in the community. Now, we take responsibility for the fact that even if our workers chose not to follow their training, that is our fault because we've clearly failed in that training. And that's what we want to emphasize, is we are willing to accept that that is our failing if they don't see how important it is to stick to that training. Our internal investigation did find some of the same issues with very fixable and preventable things. So what we are suggesting is we are prepared to input new positions into the workforce, and these positions would solely be to ensure that health and safety protocols are always being followed. So, for example, random checkups on stations to ensure that everything is up to code, making sure that employees are fully aware of any new policies that come out at any time. And this would be a way for us to ensure that not only do these little oversights cause an entirely massive issue again, but we also that way ensure that there is a type of ongoing training. So while we would have, of course, new initial training, we also would have that role, that person who would be willing to teach and help our workers to fix any wrongdoings that may be slipping their mind, as we do understand that, of course, there could be some massive consequences to that. Now, I do believe that my counsel will comment on the issue as well. Is that right, Zachary?
Yes, I would just like to address some of the concerns that have been lodged. So the top management of Greenco did regard this as one of the safest plants in the group. And this was backed by the chief medical officer of Poland, who took the claim that the safety precautions the company took were the best possible precautions. This was a failing during one night. What I can't stress enough to the other side is that we are committed to not only our workers, but the environment. We have taken these precautions, and as there was one failing, we do need to rectify this, but going forward, we are building stronger together.
Right, I'm so glad that there has been admittance on part of Greenco, and they have understood your concerns, and they truly understand that there has been a really negligent accident. Even they do not want to repeat it, and they have put forth some solutions towards ensuring that it never repeats again, like the inclusion of some new new initial training and some new posts to ensure that extra people work towards ensuring that such an adverse accident never happens again. Yes, Zach, you want to say something?
I was just wanting to clarify that there were mistakes made. However, they did not, in Greenco's opinion, amount to that of negligence. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Right, thank you so much. But how now I want to ask Jimmy, how do you feel about the possible concessions that are on your way? How do you feel about it?
Thank you, Ishrat. And like I said, I'm open to listening to what Stephanie and her council have to say. However, I will like to comment on one point. Zachary, her council, mentioned, and I believe Stephanie stated the same thing as well, that the factory is one of the safest in Poland and that this was just one incident on one night. That is not the case. What our investigation found was that a number of the safety mechanisms that are present in the company's parent factory are not present in the factory in our local community. And not a number of them, just for your notes. One of them is that the gas in our company, in our local factory, is stored in smaller barrels where they should be, the gas should be stored in smaller barrels. However, in our local factory, they are stored in larger tanks. We are not provided with the same level of safety equipment that are provided in other factories. The ones that are provided in our factory are not suitable. And that was what resulted in the incident on that night. There is no electronic or automatic alarm system, like I noted, which was what led to the delay in notifying the workers and the local community. And I believe in other factories, there are automatic alarm systems in place to notify workers and local communities immediately if there is an accident or if there is any leakages. There is no emergency response plan in place as well. So these are not, this incident was not one mistake as a result of our workers' inadequacies. This was something that resulted from a systematic failure by Greenco. I really want that to be noted, because it seems this is being pushed on our workers to say, oh, they did not comply with their training. That is not the case. Safety mechanisms were not put in place by Greenco, and that was what resulted in the incident on that night, and which led to thousands of people being seriously injured. I would like to note that, please.
Absolutely. If I may take this opportunity to respond to that. That again, your investigation clearly has found things that our company has not. And me as a businesswoman, I don't know all of the information about health and safety. And so I do take the word of the professionals who have been hired to do so. And that is the information that we are going off of in today's negotiation. Now, I am willing to say that if those aspects are found to be correct, and we do another investigation into the company and that is the case, then we are definitely willing to ensure that there are safety measures. And this is the same reason why we want to review the policy, because if this has slipped past us and we are completely unaware of it, that is an issue to us. Our workers' safety is the number one. And that's why I'm saying that while the workers, we have provided adequate training, and while the workers unfortunately did not follow that training, we aren't putting full blame on them. We aren't accepting full blame on ourselves. This was a terrible accident that frankly could have been prevented by many parties. And we are prepared to do what it takes to ensure it does not happen again. So if those are issues, what I would suggest is asking if the union would be willing to send an on-site member to the plant to ensure that the union has full communication on what's happening, not just from word of mouth from the workers, but from your own professionals, as well as that being a direct line to ensuring that these oversights don't happen again. And we're fully aware, because once again, you're coming to us with information that we do not have. And that in itself is an issue.
Thank you so much for sharing from both parties. I'd like to take a quick moment. There's been a lot of information that has just been put on the table. I think I'm going to take a moment to just summarize a few of the statements that we have made here today. So there have been some failings, and Greenco is taking responsibility for the failure of training and has proposed that it is prepared to add new positions for the health and safety, to add random checks into their health and safety procedures, to make sure that employees know the new policies, to implement ongoing training in addition to new initial training. And I know that training was one of the agenda points that both parties had on their list of things to cover in the agenda. So this is one thing that I think we should discuss if there's agreement from both sides on this. I'm just going to go over a couple more things and then we can take it item by item, or if the parties wish, they can move on to different topics. Another concern that was brought up is certain systematic safety procedures that were not implemented, such as smaller containers for gas, proper safety equipment, an auto alarm system, and an emergency response plan. Now, I know that another thing that was mentioned was the desire to review the procedures and to have outside investigators make sure that everything is properly in place. Is everything that I've said so far correct? Did I misstate anything that either party has put on the table? No?
I think, sorry, Mahek, did you just mention, I think Steph mentioned some sort of arrangement whereby Jimmy could propose someone who might be on site, was it? In the...
Yes, sorry about that. Yes.
At the factory, which I think would, be great, because I think one of the things that that my client even, has struggled with is this lack of communication between Greenco and between the trade union, because obviously the trade union is there to represent the workers, who are the ones who are there day in, day out, doing the work, dealing with these hazardous chemicals. So I think actually establishing an official line of communication between the workers and between Greenco would be something I think that Jimmy, I think that sounds like something that we would be agreeable to, and I think that's something that could benefit the workers definitely, going down the line and going into the future.
I'm so happy to hear that, Perry, and I think I would want to know from Jimmy as well, is that also the same position on your end? Would you be happy to accept, an official who will be supervising and at all time in knowledge of whatever is happening on the other side?
I'm happy with that suggestion. I just have one concern. I do not feel comfortable sending one more member of our union into an unsafe environment. And the reason why I say this is not to be antagonistic, is just to point that, while the facilities within the factory have not been looked at and have not been upgraded, there is still danger, and this accident can still happen again. So while having training for the staff is wonderful, and having managers that can oversee that the staff are following their training is wonderful. If, for example, the tanks where the chemicals are being stored are not suitable, then both trainer and workers are at risk. And both the oversight, the individual who is there to oversee safety is at risk. So I just would like to put it back to Stephanie, and maybe my counsel Perry can first expand on that point, because I believe there was a recent audit conducted, Perry, that we had access to. What our concerns are really about the facilities in the factory and what can be done to better improve them to ensure the safety of our workers.
Jimmy, I just want to clarify, we actually haven't had sight of the audit. I think, we believe that an audit was conducted by Greenco, into the premises. And I think that's something that maybe, we would like to have eyes on. I think, as I said, we are sort of thin on information as to exactly what happened that night. And, you know, I think I speak for Jimmy as well when I say that any information that we have that Greenco may find beneficial, we're happy to share that with you. You know, as I said, communication here is something that Jimmy has expressed to me was something that was lacking, you know, in this relationship. So I think this sharing of information, especially as Jimmy's members are, you know, working with these hazardous chemicals, you know, that's something that we want to, you know, keep, or we want to actually increase the information sharing to keep them safe.
I appreciate the other side. I appreciate your position. I do believe that Steph has presented a very fair option, because as you have also stated, you don't have on the ground knowledge. And I think that can be bettered through the relationship, because of we're trying to build up our union relationship. And I think that with having on-site union workers, I think that's something that would be very beneficial. Now, I would ask if it would be an okay time, since there is a lot of options on the table, and I'm sure that both my client as well as Perry's client might be getting a little overwhelmed. I was wondering if it would be an okay time to take a caucus.
Yes, definitely. I think Mehak and I will totally be on board for that. So I think we're getting an invitation to accept.
I think we're supposed to stay in this room. I don't think
Yes,
for the caucus,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I think the trade union will be moved to another room.
I'm not sure. Some people are just gone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everyone is just gone. No, come back.
Are we supposed to be in the mediator's room?
Can you please bring back one of the parties? We didn't even get to decide who we were caucusing with first before everyone just kind of disappeared.
I think Greenco asked for it, so.
Okay. Okay, Greenco, welcome back to the room.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are in trying times, and actually I'm very happy that we're still trying to work together amidst, you know, anything that comes our way. Now, as we're in the private session, and I would like to begin by saying that you have exactly 7 minutes to tell us anything that you want to, and we have conducted this private session for facilitating that you share something with us you might not be comfortable sharing otherwise.
And also to take a breather, because you mentioned you were overwhelmed, so just take a deep breath and we'll talk this out. Another thing I wanted to ensure is that this is confidential. Nothing you say to us at this time will be shared with the other party. It's strictly confidential between us. Okay?
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. So I guess I'll give the floor mainly over to Steph. I just called for a caucus because I felt like we were presenting options on the table. And I feel like Steph is learning a lot today about different tests that have been done. So I was just wondering, Steph, if maybe you could share how you were feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a little bit frustrated in the sense that I feel like we are giving a lot and getting a little. I do understand that it's a hard position because people were hurt and we're trying to be as sympathetic as we can. But at the same time, I also, while looking out for my employees, I have to look out for my business as a businesswoman. And what I want to do today is ensure that we come to a fair agreement. So we aren't looking to skip out on the other side. We are financially able to give them a sizable amount, but what we are struggling with is I feel like we don't have the willingness. So for example, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable sharing all of our audit if For example, Jimmy and his council aren't comfortable even sending a worker to our plant that has been safe since the year 2000 and had no problems for 15 years. Again, to say that we are completely negligent would be unfair in our opinion, and we don't accept that. So what I'm hoping for is some guidance into how I can get more cooperation so that it can be fair rather than more of a one-sided offer.
I understand you're frustrated, and I truly sympathize with it. I believe that you had a lot of, you came into this mediation expecting some of the things to get solved, and you did do your best from your end, try to put out options on the table. And you felt that those weren't well received in the way that you had expected it to be. But I would just, request you to be a little patient. And I totally understand that you want us to encourage some cooperation on Jimmy and Perry's side, if I have understood you correctly.
Yes.
Is there anything do you want to talk about your feelings a little bit more, so that when we talk to them, we have more to say?
I feel like,
absolutely.
sorry, Steph, go ahead.
I was just going to say the reluctancy of allowing them to see the audit is that I feel that it's actually going to put us in a worse position, because they are correct. The audit did not come back the way that we expected it to. And that is one of the main reasons that we say that we would be more than willing to pay a fair amount. But at the same time, while they're being very unwilling to work, I'm reluctant to give them more information that may put us into a deadlock in this mediation. In the same sense, I would like to share the information so that we can come to a fair agreement. So that's where I'm stuck and hoping for some assistance. Sorry, you can go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say, echoing what you said earlier, I'm struggling to see how, the size of tanks and everything would amount to negligence when we've had a safe plant in operation for 15 years. And it should have been safe forever. And we understand that, but I don't believe their arguments are amounting to negligence. And I think that's where Steph might be a little bit concerned or overwhelmed, because she's built a safe business, as even stated by the chief medical officer of Poland, that it was safe. And they seem to be stuck on some unrealistic factors and very quick to throw out words such as negligence, instead of actually being proactive and open-minded like we were instructed in the opening.
Thank you, both of you, for sharing your feelings. We really appreciate that you felt comfortable enough to share with us. I think one thing that we as mediators, I think me and Ishrath can do to help move this forward is to bring back up the agenda that we had and talk about some of the points that we have agreed upon, and really highlight everything that you have said that you are willing to do, that they have agreed to, and in that also give you guys the platform to create those asks again, such as that safety officer, which you would like at your plant to create this communication channel, and talk about what needs to happen from both sides to make that a possibility. Do you think that that would be something that would solve this problem for you?
Yes, in a sense, the frustration comes from the fact that we are comfortable having our own auditor in. We are comfortable having our own staff do this job, but we're extending an arm so that we can increase the communication with the union. And so what we want to emphasize is, while it seems like there is a lot of finger pointing and blame assigning happening, we don't want to engage in that, because again, we have to remember that they're a union that didn't know until a disaster happened that their workers were in danger. So again, there are more than one party here that's responsible for the safety of their clients. But if bringing up that point is going to start very intense mediation, I am curious if you as mediators can make them or help them realize that there may have been a part they played in this as well.
We will try to do everything we can neutrally, and I think, Mehak, and I fully acknowledge what you have said, and I understand that you're extending an arm and you expect some sort of an acknowledgement from their side. We definitely directly cannot tell them or put a blame on them, but we will try to do it in the respectful way. And I think in terms of assisting you regarding disclosing that information you shared with us in this session, I think you asked us for assistance, and I think Mehak would agree with me on the fact that whenever you find the time is right, at your convenience, you can certainly share that information. Since you're still a little uncertain, because you still don't find that cooperation, I think it's best if you say it at your pace. And I think we are done with the private session. I don't know. I think there was somebody who was going to keep the time, Mehak.
Yes, I did not get a 2-minute mark, but I do believe that we have hit our 7-minute mark. I'd like to remind you both that everything that you have shared with us is confidential. Is there anything that you would like us to share with them? Or do we have permission to share? Or would you like to keep it all confidential? Whatever works for you guys.
I'd like to hear my counsel's opinion.
I believe with Steph's permission, I think that the overwhelming frustration may have come through, but I think that presenting that in a neutral perspective might, and I think going over the agenda again might be well advised. I don't know if unease over the audit should be disclosed as of yet, because as we say, we are more than happy to share the audit results, but would like a little bit more trust in the room first.
Definitely.
Thank you for sharing that. I would request for Hannah now to switch the parties that are in the room. So I understand you're feeling a lot of emotions. Please take a few minutes, just breathe through, take 7 minutes off. Sorry, 7 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I think Farhan is muted. Hello?
I actually lost her screen. They keep moving. If you guys are able to switch the breakout rooms yourself, so if you guys can please.
Yes, if you could.
Yours.
Yeah.
And I think Farhana dipped out to bring them in, so we should be good. All right, just 1 second, please.
Yes, I think we have Jimmy and Perry back.
Great.
Thank you for your patience. It might have been a long 7 minutes, even we lost track of it, but we ensure that we will give you the exact amount of dedication, as that is our job as mediators, and that is something we want to do. So now that we're here in a private session with both of you, I would like to say that you have a limitation of 7 minutes, but you can choose to share anything that you're not confident as of yet to share with the other party, and then only after getting your consent will we, decide to share. So is there anything you would like to begin with?
Thanks, Ishrat. I might step in there. Obviously, I think we're happy. I think so far with how it's going. I think we were very happy to hear that. Even if the Green Co haven't admitted negligence, we're happy to at least see them accept some responsibility for what happened, and we're happy to see them commit to better training and better health and safety procedures. And I think we're also happy that they've agreed to have someone from the trade union go to the facility, and act as sort of an intermediary between both organizations. There's a few things I think that we would like to maybe bring up with Green Co, and obviously maybe you can assist us in that. obviously for us, one of the major things is, Jimmy really would like, it's even more than a need or more than a want. It's a need to get compensation and some sort of medical assistance for the members who have been, really quite badly impacted by this accident. And then another thing is, I think Jimmy has expressed a desire, to have sight of this audit that has apparently, that has been mentioned, that Greenco may have, undertaken, and we're not even sure if it happened, prior to the incident or if it happened post the incident. So I think we would like some maybe clarification on that front. And then another thing that Jimmy has expressed, and I think is a wonderful idea, is having some sort of independent international inspector go to the facility now, to allay any concerns that Jimmy does have and that the trade union members have, because we want to know that this is never going to happen again. We want to know that they are working in a facility now that is up to the highest international standards. I think Greenco mentioned that this was sort of a, something that happened, it's a once in a lifetime or one-off. We can't really afford that ever. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Jimmy feels incredibly strongly about this. The environment around the area has been incredibly affected by this. So we can't afford to have another one-off incident, so we need, and Jimmy needs to be 100% convinced that this is never going to happen again and that the place is completely safe. And then another thing that we, or Jimmy has expressed that needs to be discussed is something to do with the possibility for soil contamination, because that's something else that is not clear. And we need some sort of report, maybe from Greenco or again from an independent inspector as to what has actually happened with the soil. So I don't know if you have any questions. Sorry, I probably said a lot there, but they're just some things I think that we would like to be raised maybe back in the joint session.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Don't apologize. This session is for you to be able to share. Jimmy, did you want to add anything to what your counsel said?
No, I think I decided to stay quiet and let my counsel, set out what it was that we wanted with a clear head, because I note that I am getting a little bit emotional about the issues. And this is because, they are not just members of the union. These are members of my community and my friends. So to see people hurt and to see the extent of the injuries they've sustained is very personal to me. But I believe Perry has set out what it is that we came here to achieve very clearly. So I will let him speak on our behalf, and if anything else needs to be said, then I will come in. Thank you.
And sorry, I do note as well that obviously, sorry, Mahek, some of these are obviously some of the agenda items, so I think obviously we will, like, for example, the compensation of the soil, I presume we will get to discussing them, but I just wanted to Jimmy asked me just to set out, as was said, with a clear head, some of our concerns.
Thank you for sharing your concerns again. And Jimmy, I thank you as well for being self-aware and understanding that this is a very emotional time, and it's very understandable that you are emotionally involved. And as you said, Perry, these are some of the agenda items. So I would like to suggest that we go over the agenda one more time as a group, as a joint session, and go ahead and highlight the points of agreement, again, that we have gone through, make sure they're written out, and then re-add everything on the agenda as the next points, and just kind of go from there and talk point to point about the agenda items and get these things discussed. How does that sound to the two of you?
And I mean, before the parties answer that, obviously, I would like to add this one thing that, you have shared whatever your concerns are with us in confidence, and it shall be that way. And everything you've said in the private session is obviously confidential. I also agree with Meg that we should go over the agenda and probably, tick off anything that we have made progress on. But what I'm fully clear about is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the offers that were made from Greenco is still a little inadequate for you to accept at this stage. It's something you want to think about accepting perhaps as we proceed with the mediation?
I think we're very happy with a lot of the suggestions that have been made. There's definitely movement in the right direction, which is what we want to see, obviously. But I think, especially on the compensation front, that's obviously for us, that is one of the major issues, as well as the soil contamination. So I think, we're very happy that they've committed to doing training and increasing health and safety. But at the same time, we see that as the minimum in such a volatile industry, in a facility that is obviously prone to accidents. So I think we're very happy with what they have offered so far, but I think there's still some unresolved issues, especially the compensation and the soil, which are obviously two very large issues.
Okay, thank you. And I believe our time is up as well. So everything you have stated to us will be confidential, and we will, Farhana, if you could please bring back the other team and we will go over the agenda again. I think that will provide a solid base for us to move forward. Ishrat, are you able to pull up the agenda again? Okay. A quick note, just a housekeeping logistics item. You will be able to see all the members of this mediation on the right-hand side of your screen. On the top bar above everyone's faces, all the way to the right, there is a small button that looks like a square with a small square on the top right. If you click that, it switches between the person speaking or the people in the mediation room and the agenda that Ishrat has put on the screen. So if that is something you care about, seeing people's faces or seeing the document more clearly, you can adjust that to your settings. Okay, thank you. So I believe that addressing the agenda again to go over points that have been agreed upon and points that need to be discussed further is a good point. So let's go ahead and do that right now. This will also help us have a written record that we can provide to each council for them to use towards creating a legally binding document if you so choose at the end of this mediation, which we as mediators will not have a hand in. That we will leave to your council, but we will be here throughout the process to support both parties. Okay. Ishrat, would you like me to go over some of the larger points and sub-points?
Yeah, surely. I'd be glad if you did that. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So one of the heading items is taking responsibility. So an agreement that has been reached is that Green Co. takes responsibility for the failure of training. And underneath that agreement, future steps have been outlined. Maybe you can put this in the agreement square. Yes, thank you.
Right. I'll do that right now. So the first one is the agreement to take the responsibility, right?
Yes, Green Co. Takes responsibility for the failure of training.
I would just like to clarify, it's a different point than a full negligence. We just want to ensure that everybody knows that we see how we can move forward and we are willing to do so, not that we're taking responsibility for being negligent in the entire claim.
Thank you for clarifying that, Steph. Okay,
Yes.
so let's make sure that we specify what for. So takes responsibility for failure of training so that it's not stating negligence. And underneath that point, their proposed steps to respond to this are to add new positions for health and safety. And I would like to express my appreciation to both parties for their patience while we type this out. Technology is great, but sometimes it can also slow us down too. So we really appreciate your patience. Okay. random checks, random safety checks. Make sure employees know new policies. New initial training. And ongoing training. Okay. And another,
I think one of the things that I think the trade union actually conveyed to us was that they wanted to have some independent and impartial instructor to supervise instead of one of their own staff going over to green company. If I'm right about that, Perry or Jimmy?
Just to clarify, and I
Yeah.
think Perry can probably speak more to this. Perry, was it that we wanted an inspection of the facilities done before we send any more of our members into the factory to ensure that the facilities were actually up to international standards?
Yeah, Jimmy, I think that would definitely be something, you know, if Greenco were agreeable, just to, you know, allay any fears of your members, and also just to satisfy you that it is indeed a safe environment to work still.
thank you.
I believe that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
I was just going to say that I would believe that as long as that inspection was done independently, that Steph would be of agreement with it. But I won't put words in her mouth. Steph, does that sound agreeable to do a independent investigation?
Sorry, Zach, I should have clarified as well. Yes, I did mean like an independent investigation. Sorry, Steph, to put across.
No, I appreciate the clarification. Just to ensure that I understand correctly, we would have an outside party come in and evaluate whether it would be safe for a member of the union to come and then work on site with us. Is that correct?
Yes, it is not just for the safety of the member of the union that will be coming to work on site, but it's also for the safety of the of our members that are currently working on site, to ensure that the facilities are up to international standards. I noted previously that a few of our members informed us that the facilities were not up to international standards, and certain safety measures that should have been in place were not in place. So we just want an independent inspector to confirm whether or not that is the case, because Stephanie, like you stated, this information was not provided to you. So I think an independent investigation would either confirm or not confirm what it is our members have stated.
Absolutely, yes. So we would be absolutely comfortable with that. Just as an alternative to explore the option, if that did come back as a fail, we are confident it would not, but if it did, we would ask that we would still have the union's cooperation in rectifying that as quickly as possible, both for the fact that if it is listed to be unsafe, the workers will have to leave and not work for the time that it takes us to fix it, which is obviously a problem for you as a union rep. But what we would want to do is just ensure that you are willing to work with us regardless of the outcome to ensure that our workers will be safe going forward.
Of course, we're willing to commit to that. That's why we are here. And if it does, if the investigation does prove that, you know, the facilities are actually unsafe, then we'll be willing to work together to ensure that the facilities are upgraded and that the factory becomes a safer place for our members to work.
Perfect. Yes, then we would be able to agree to that completely. Thank you.
I want to congratulate both the parties, because this is a clear agreement on both sides, and I'm delighted that this happened for both of you. But now I really, you know, if I have Mehak's agreement, I would like to stop sharing and probably go back to an agenda, because we have made some progress, and I really want to see everybody widely again.
Yes, I'm in agreement. How do the parties feel? Is it helpful to see our faces or to see the agenda or?
I think it was helpful to have a glance at it again, but I think I don't know about everyone else, but I think I'd like to get to see everyone again, and if possible, I think it would be great to move on to hopefully talking about compensation for the 10,000 injured members of the union. I think that's something that Jimmy has obviously expressed. Something that we feel very strongly about it is hopefully getting some compensation for the members. I think you speak about that. I think we'd be delighted.
Wonderful. I think we can stop sharing. Ishrat, thank you so much for doing that. That's a very tedious thing to do, so I really appreciate you doing that. Do both parties agree to speak about compensation next? I'm seeing nodding heads.
Sorry, go ahead, Zachary. I think we're on the same point here.
I was going to say, as we have made some headway in the health and safety of the workers going forward, and I can recognize that with only having about 20 minutes left, we will not finish negotiations today. I did want to bring up what I believe Steph cares deeply about, and that is the environment. As an environmentalist, she is very concerned about the potential environmental outcomes. So I'll let Steph speak to that, and we can see if that can get general acceptance.
I'm sorry, Zachary, to cut in. Just before we do that, the environment is also something that we are concerned about. And I understand that we do not have enough time to get into the details of a compensation agreement or package today. But I do want a commitment from Steph that, compensation will be paid to our members, because we have 10,000 injured individuals here, and I can provide you with details of their medical records so you understand the extent of the injuries. They need compensation, and a commitment that compensation will be paid is something that I would like, so I can take it back to our members and they know that this is something we will discuss in the future.
So before Steph answers, I definitely think that Steph is passionate about her employees, and I think that there will be some compensation that will need to be handed out. Again, I don't think we can put a set number on it today. I think we can better use the last 15 minutes. But Steph, did you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so just quickly on that point, as we definitely will have to go ahead and negotiate this at another time, I will definitely commit to providing compensation to workers who are affected and who were affected by it. Now, given that the accident did happen so long ago, we would like to conduct a basically research into whether there are long-term effects or not, as that's a fact that is disputed. So what we're asking is, while we are committing to giving compensation, that our topic of negotiation for the next time that we meet will be what that amount will be, and that will be discussed based on the findings of how that has played out, whether it is a short-term effect only or both short and long-term effects that they're still feeling today. Would that be a fair outcome to you, Jimmy?
I think that's reasonable, but I'm not sure if Perry has something else to add to that.
No, thank you, Jimmy. And yeah, obviously I noticed that we are under time pressure. But yeah, I'm glad that we've gotten maybe a commitment to at least discuss the issue of compensation. Obviously, I think from our point of view, I think we do think there is long-term effects, and I think once Greenco is paying for it, I don't necessarily think there would be any objection into research in relation to the long-term conditions. I think if anything, it would just confirm any of the information that we have and confirm our suspicions. And so I think that's something that is definitely agreeable. And I think, a commitment to meet again in the future and maybe discuss what is obviously such a large issue of a compensation package, you know, sort of on its own, I think would probably be very beneficial. And yeah, I also share, you know, the concern that Zach raised. Obviously, we are very concerned with the environment. Jimmy and his locality and his community have been, you know, like massively affected, decimated, you know, nearly by this disaster. So the issue of actually soil contamination, I think, is something that we definitely want to speak of in terms of in terms of the environment. So I don't know, Steph and Zach, if that's also something that you'd be happy to discuss.
Absolutely, Perry, and thank you for acknowledging that. I would, just to put that issue to rest, I know Jimmy offered the medical documents. We'd be happy to sign a non-disclosure agreement. I'd be happy to work with you after today's session, as long as the non-disclosure agreement went along like that, our advisors could see it. And then if not able to before the next mediation, we would also like to get an independent scientific advisor on that, just to get down to the real answer of that. But we're happy to speak of the environment as well.
If I can just quickly summarize what has been said on the compensation aspect of the case, is that obviously Jimmy demanded a substantial compensation for, you know, the ensuring the health of those 10,000 staff members, and which has been obviously agreed by Steph. And Steph has also mentioned some other solutions that it will further vindicate the need for these safety measures. She has mentioned that they will not obviously put an amount on the compensation as of yet. That is something they're reserving for the next session. But for now, they are open to discuss on conducting a research on long-term or short-term effect of whatever happens next. And I think obviously Zach responded saying that they're open to taking those researches with impartial authorities. Is my understanding correct? Have I been, you know, going on the right track so far? Yes. And now from my understanding, I believe that Jimmy and Perry, they want to talk about the soil contamination. That was something, one of the agenda that we had. So if Green Company is on board with that, we can start on.
Absolutely. If you are okay with it, trade union, are we able to begin on this point so that we can, right off the bat with the lack of time, let you know what our plans are? Great, thank you. So as a quick recap, we are also absolutely devastated that this happened and that this has had such such a terrible effect on the environment. And our company is relatively successful. We have had a very good few years and we are getting a bonus this year. What we would like to offer is that our entire bonus for this year be put into the rehabilitation of the environment around this issue. And that would be to not only rectify it as soon as possible, but also to hopefully try and in some type of way remove the pollution and or try and help the community work with the situation that this disaster has put them in. If you have any suggestions along the lines of how we can do so, we are absolutely open to hearing it because this is definitely a complex issue. And I think that with the sizable bonus, we are willing to give what it takes out of that amount. And if we are able to come to an agreement that that bonus will be used for environmental rehabilitation, we are happy to go ahead with discussions on different ways that we can do so, if that's something that would be agreed. Do you have anything to add, Zachary?
No, that sounds really good stuff. I wanted to point out that Steph and I have had talks about how this may be an extensive process, but I appreciate Steph's willingness to work on the environmental measures, especially as I pointed out to her that there is not just the soil, but also a fresh water source that we also want to maintain through that fund as well. because it's very important to the community in Poland. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, as long as I didn't speak out of turn, Steph.
I'm sorry, before Jimmy and Perry can answer that, I would just like to understand that there is obviously an offer presented by you in terms of investing your entire bonus for the rehabilitation of environment. So I obviously cannot go forward without really checking if that is in fact feasible, in fact practicable. So have you talked to your board regarding, investment of this bonus, because they should be aware of it? Have you discussed to your employees how you would go on about it? Are they aware of it?
Absolutely. So this is an administrative bonus, so it's not something that's affecting our in-field workers, which is the people who have been affected by this and the people who we feel in the community deserve it most. So I have full authority on the behalf of my company, and this is a decision that has been discussed. And as I say, anything that we're offering today is because we have the authority to do so.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, please, Jimmy and Perry, take over. Thank you.
I'll take that one. Thanks, Stephanie, and thank you, Zach. I think that's, I think we're glad to hear commitment, in relation to the issue of the soil contamination. I think the first port of call for us in relation to the soil contamination as well would be as soon as possible having an independent report completed in relation to the soil contamination, because we, Jimmy has said that it's still not entirely clear as to the extent of the soil contamination and what has actually happened. Because I note that on the day of the accident, I believe there was high winds and the wind was carrying the gas far and wide. So the full extent of it is still not clear. And I also might ask, I don't know if you have a figure on the amount of the bonus, or has that been completed yet, or do you know yet?
So yes, thank you, Perry, for your question. I'm sorry for putting in the chat out of turn. And I think I did distract you there, so I apologize for that. However, I just wanted to check in with my client and make sure that that was agreeable, that we could have an independent soil contamination study done. And at what price, Steph, are you willing to do that?
Thank you, Zachary. Now, the amount of this bonus is all dependent on the company's income. So again, the amount will be discussed, but I can assure you that it is a sizable amount, and we are willing to give as much out of that amount as is necessary. We are more than happy to have an independent auditor figure out exactly what the extent of the damage is. I think that would be beneficial both for the community and, of course, for us trying to rectify that situation. The only thing that I did want to ask is because we have had issues with our communication and issues with a lack of unity on answers from our board and other boards, what I would like to ask is if you have a suggestion, or if you have anybody in the union that deals with environmental aspects, or if it would be best to pretty much have somebody who would be in charge of ensuring that any land around our company or our plant would constantly be looked at to ensure that there's no leaking, there's no contamination. So what I would propose is, if there is no member on the union, as we would like to offer that spot to you first, if you do have somebody in that area, then what we would propose is that the first measure would be to ensure that we are putting in place a plan to not only correct this, but again, long-term ensure that there is no issues happening with leaking into the soil yet again. Would that be something you're comfortable with, Jimmy?
Yes. Thank you, Stephanie, for your generous offer in relation to committing a bonus to remedying the environmental issue. But like Perry stated, we need to first ascertain the extent of the damage that was done So I think that would be our first point of call. But once that is done and once remedial work starts, as far as I'm aware, we have no one with the level of expertise that is required in order to continue to ensure that there is no contamination to the land and to the waters in the surrounding areas. So we are happy for an independent person with the relevant expertise and qualifications to take on that role.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if I can just quickly summarize, and I think we have very little time, so I would obviously keep it as short as I can. So regarding the soil contamination aspect, there have been concerns raised obviously by Jimmy, and Stephanie, you responded in ensuring that, you know, a part of your bonus, 5% of the entire administrative bonus, will be invested in, you know, rehabilitating the environment. And that was again responded by Jamie and Perry, that they need an extensive report of the soil contamination. After that, they can decide if this percentage is correct. And I think that is something we can definitely talk about in the next session. I think because the amounts are not being set on a lot of monetary aspects. So setting those amounts and probably, you know, sending you home with the homework, and I do not want to sound juvenile, but probably, you know, suggesting you come up with other ideas and proper numbers for the next session. Is that something that works for either parties? I see nodding head. Thank you so much. And Meg, what do you say? What do you say about this?
I think you've done a great job in summarizing the new agreement points, and as well as setting an agenda for the next meeting as well. So I really appreciate that. And I look forward to us mediating together. Both parties have made big steps towards coming to an agreement. There have been a lot of agreement points reached, as well as an agenda for the next meeting. So I definitely think this is progress.
I'd like to just add before we wrap up, sorry, that
please never say sorry. You're most welcome here to say everything. Please don't apologize and continue. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say before we wrapped up that we did get a little sidetracked. I'm just remembering right after or right before the private session, we were talking about the audit. So I did just want to allow the other side to know that in the non-disclosure agreement that we're talking about, Perry, that when we get the medical documents, we'll have no issue sending you over the audit results as well.
Thank you, Zach. Yeah, as well. I think as Jimmy expressed at the start, you know, I think we'd like sight of the audit, and again, that might be something that could be provided, you know, to the independent inspector. It might help them in the conducting of their report as well. So I think that would be very welcome. And, you know, anything really to prevent this happening again, anything to prevent the injuries that have been caused, and anything to prevent the damage to the environment as well. So I'm just glad to see us all working together.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to.
Actually really.
I'd just like to express that I was initially hesitant about coming to this process because of how close to home this issue is to me. But I am grateful that I did come here, and thank you, Perry, for your support, and Stephanie and Zachary. It was wonderful to hear that you share, you know, my concern about the impact that this has had on, you know, the members of my community and the environment within my local community. So I look forward to our next mediation sessions where we can actually flesh out the details of the monetary compensation and also how to resolve the environmental issues.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And just on behalf of our company as well, thank you very much for inviting us to the table. And I'm more than happy that this is where we're going to be able to solve our issues and hopefully move forward as a team. So again, thank you very much to the mediators and to the trade union.
If there are no more closing statements from the parties, I think Ishrat and I can wrap up this mediation. Thank you to both parties for choosing us to be your mediators and for coming in good faith and taking the control and power in shaping your own future. And I'm looking forward to continuing our discussion in our next mediation session. Ishrat, would you like to take us out?
Yes, actually, I'm also very thankful. And obviously, without any of your help, none of the progress would have been possible. And obviously, I would like to pat Mehak on the back and say, well, good job done, because this would be really difficult for me to pull off all by myself if I did not have your support. But yes, having talked to you about that, I obviously cannot forget the parties for their presence and participation in the mediation. And I'm just so ecstatic about all the progress we've made. I cannot wait to see you next week or whenever it is convenient for you to attend the mediation once again. And as I have mentioned before, I would like you to think about numbers and fixed solutions so that, the next time we can jump into things even more at an even more rapid rate. And perhaps next time, Jimmy will obviously not be emotional and will come even more happily and optimistically about the arrangement that has been made. And lastly, I would just like to end by saying that everything, as you saw, was confidential, and everything that you chose to share was shared, and it shall be the same the next session as well. So signing off, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much to all the teams. Congratulations. You did a fantastic job, I believe. Now let's give the judges a few minutes to complete their scoring. And then we will actually just see you. There won't be feedback for this. So we will just see you for the announcements, which will be at 5 p.m. So feel free to just log off and then we will see you shortly. It'll be on the same link as well. So thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Sorry, Farhana, I thought you were going to say something, so it took me a little while. Okay, judges, feel free to discuss and to complete your scoring. Sorry?